Before we start this prison story, I have to give a disclaimer. Everything that I'm about to tell y'all is alleged. Everything I'm about to tell y'all is fake. Everything I'm about to tell y'all, if the justice system is listening, this is all a fabrication of my imagination. This is not real. It did not happen. Okay, y'all. So if we got that disclaimer out the way, let's get to it. So, back in 2001, there was this dude that we used to call Biggie. Now, this dude really looked like Biggie Smalls. Okay, so we in a pod, right? And we just came off our annual lockdown. Now, when we have these annual lockdowns, there's no movement. Whoever in your cell, they just in your cell, right? So we don't know who done came in this prison. We don't know who left. None of that, right? So when the doors pop, everybody, checking on everybody, seeing what's what, people collecting on old debts, all that, right? So the doors pop, and then Biggie walked in. Now, I knew Biggie from the streets of Flint, Michigan, on the north side. He stayed over there in Selby Hood. And Biggie, he was like a loner. He would just always be by himself. But I didn't really know him like that. But when you see somebody around the hood or whatever, yeah. And I know some of y'all might be wondering from Flint, Michigan, like, Donta, you from Selby Hood? No, I am not from Selby Hood at all. Okay. I'm from that hood over there on Moore Street. All right. But never mind, we ain't gonna get into all that. But anyway, so Biggie walk in. So I'm looking, I'm like, man, that's Biggie. So I'm like, yo, big, right? And he looked, now he didn't sound like Biggie Smalls at all. But I promise to God, man, y'all, he looked like Biggie. So he was like, what up, Donta? What up? I said, man, Biggie, what happened, bro? What happened? He was like, man, hey, man, you know. Now, when somebody from Flint, Michigan, when you ask them something while they was locked up, they always say, you know. Normally, it's dealing with drugs. Normally, it's dealing with catching a body. It's something in that realm, right? But I'm telling y'all, he wasn't in there for no violence. He wasn't in there for no drugs. He wasn't in there for none of these things for him to say, man, you know. No, y'all. He was in there for something way worse. Now, I'm going to go ahead and cut. No, I got to finish telling y'all the story. So anyway, I'm like, hey, man, who cell you in? Who cell you in? He was like, I'm in 4A. I said, man, that's my cell. He was like, oh, I got to, okay, bet. Right? Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. And maybe, I know this might sound messed up, but I never really liked having like a big cellmate. And when I say like a big cellmate, like a big dude, like a overweight guy. Because in the summertime, we sweat, and we sweat a lot. And I had this big dude, like I told y'all, when I first got locked up, not first got locked up, but when I did my first bid, I ended up stabbing my bunkie because he was a big guy and he was farting all the time and laughing, and he was just doing the most, and I ended up, poking him up or whatever. But I always had a little bias against big guys being in my cell. But for my understanding, even on the streets, Biggie was a really clean dude, right? He stayed clean. So anyway, he come in the cell or whatever, and I'm already, rearranging my things or whatever. Because on this annual lockdown, I was in there by myself. So he come in there, and, I'm breaking down the rules because he ain't never did no time before. Now, of course, being from Flint, Michigan, he done did a little county time here and there, whatever, but he ain't never did time. So I let him know, like, okay, look, this how it is. When you use the bathroom, sit down. And he looking at me like, what? I said, no, ain't nothing like that, man. And I'm telling you to sit down because if you stand up and pee, it's going to hit the back of the toilet. It's going to hit the floor, right? However these toilets is designed, it's just like that. So if you can, man, just sit down and pee. And if you do going to stand up and pee, just make sure you clean up around the toilet. He was like, man, listen, Donta, look, I know how to program, bro. You ain't got to tell me nothing. I got it. I know keep people out the cell, all this and that. I said, I bet. Right? So for the next, we just going to skip 5 days later. Now, we on the yard, right? And everybody's showing Biggie some love. Now, we are over here rapping or whatever, and no, Biggie couldn't rap. But, you know, everybody think they're a rapper. So we all over here in this circle on the yard by the basketball court rapping or whatever, right? So my homeboy Al was like, hey, man, Biggie, what you in here for, man? What did you do? And he like, man, you know, man, it's, man, you already know. So Al like, no, what did you do? And he like, man, I don't want to talk about it. Let me tell y'all something real quick. If somebody is apprehensive of telling you what they did, then 9 times out of 10, it's a bad charge. A super violated. I mean, there's reasons why people wouldn't tell what they did. Like, say, for instance, they took somebody's life and that person that person life that they took, they family member in there, and they don't want it to get out. But, you know, dealing with, you know, phone calls and, you know, because anybody can call on the street and figure out what you did or whatever. But most guys be apprehensive to tell, like for me, for instance, right? I had felonious assault. I had great bodily injury on a peace officer. So, yeah, I'm going to say it. Like, yeah, this is what I did to get locked up or whatever. But when, and I ain't trying to make a glorification of, you know, oh, well, I was a robber, I was this, I was that. No, I'm not trying to say that. But you kind of proud of what you did to get in there, if that make any sense. Only a man that's not proud of what he did is, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just all of us homies kicking it, right? So, again, Biggie, what did you do? Oh, man, you know, no, we don't know. So now the conversation getting serious. So Al like, no, but for real though, what did you do to get in here? And Biggie was like, man, I'm going to holler at y'all later. So he walk off. So we all looking at each other. So I'm like, I gave Al that nod, like, yeah, go get on the phone. Go get on the motherfucking phone right now. So we know what's happening with this dude, right? Because we eating meals with him. He walk in the yard with us. We need to, you know what I'm saying? We need to make sure we know if this dude's straight up, right? So Al, he go and, you know, he jump on the phone or whatever, right? So I see Al about 30 minutes later. He was like, yeah, he got a sealed case. I said, what? Like, yeah, his case is sealed. I said, what you mean his case is sealed? He like, I don't know. Now, if you got a case that's sealed, that means you a snitch. That means you done told on somebody. Something done happened in your paperwork that you done testify. Something done happened for you to have your case sealed. So we have an emergency meeting, you know, me and the homies. And, you know, Al letting everybody know, like, you know, Biggie, you know, his case is sealed and whatever, but this what we gonna do. We gonna catch him at dinner time and, you know, we gonna put that pressure on him and we gonna make him tell us what he did. Right? So I like, all right, bet. Now, let me tell y'all something right quick. I'm just gonna be real with y'all. My philosophy of snitching is this, okay? Because the world got it messed up. If me and you go commit a crime together and I get caught and you don't get caught and I say, hey, this guy was with me, that is a snitch. that person need to, well, I can't say that on YouTube, but just know that person should leave this earth. Okay. Now, if I'm on my porch and somebody is breaking into my neighbor's house and I call the police, that's not snitching. That's not snitching at all, okay? If I'm somebody just out with my family and somebody busts me upside the head, well, I'm going to get my get back anyway. But you have the right to call the police, okay? If you're not a criminal, okay, which I am not, you can call the police. That's what they there for. And furthermore, let me put this out, because I know some of you real cats out there gonna be like, oh, Donta, that ain't real, man. You playing police games. Let me tell y'all real niggas something. Every day in my city, somebody getting shot. Every day in my city, let me stop saying my city. The city that I live in is so much violence here. I stay in a good area. And I done heard some gunshots maybe about 4-5 streets away from me. And I'm like, yeah, it's time to go. It's time to go. And you know what? Since we talking, let's go ahead and get the question of the day out. Would y'all rather live in the city or would y'all rather live in the country? Let me know in the comment section. But think about the pros and cons about that. All right? Me, since I'm getting just a little bit of money, I'm not rich or nothing at all. You know, I'm still living in poverty, but I'd rather live out in the country. I'm just saying, for real. But anyway, let's get back to the story. So, yeah. Y'all make sure y'all let me know what y'all gonna put where y'all living at, in the city or the country. All right, so let's continue the story. So now, you know, it's almost dinner time. And Biggie is in the cell. So me and the whole crew, we just bum rush the cell. And he like, oh, whoa, what's going on? What's going on? So I pull out the sword of justice, right? For those that don't know what the sword of justice is, because if this is your first time tuning in, the sword of justice is a knife, okay? So I pull it out immediately. Let them know I'm not playing with you. I said, Biggie, what you locked up for? He was like, man, y'all, I told y'all I don't want to. As soon as he said, man, I told y'all I don't want to, I instantly said he was sitting at the bottom bunk. I let him get the bottom bunk because he a big guy. I ain't want him climbing over me and all that, right? So I rushed him real quick and I put the knife at his neck. I said, Biggie, stop fucking playing with me, man. What the fuck is you in here for? He like, come on, man. I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. I said, what you mean you ain't going to be able to breathe in a minute, man? I'm about to take your life. He like, man, okay, hold on, man. So I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I cut him a little bit to let him know I ain't playing. I just, nicked him on the neck, like a little razor cut, nothing really deep. Right? So I said, so what's happening? What's happening? He was like, man, all right, listen. But I didn't do it. I'm like, man, what would you, man, just tell us, what the fuck did you do? He was like, man, they said that I touched my neighbor's daughter. I said, what? He was like, man, listen, my neighbor, she always was going to the club. You know, them trifling mamas that always just leaving their kids with anybody. I said, okay. He was like, well, one day, the kid was outside at 1:00 in the morning. So I told her to, I knocked on the door, yelled at her. I was like, hey, Tanisha, you here? You here, Tanisha? And nobody said anything. So I took the girl and I brought her to my house. Next thing I know, it's like 7:00 in the morning, and Flint police and the state police, Michigan State Police, they all outside my crib talking about let the kid go. Let the kid go and all this and that. Like it was some type of hostage thing. So I said, what? He was like, yeah. I said, so why did they seal your document? He was like, man, I don't want to talk about it. Now, I know some of y'all wondering, like, yo, Donta, why would they seal his, if why would they seal it if he got bad charges? This is where this story finna take a crazy turn, y'all. So he like, yeah, so I came outside with the girl and I had my hands up, and I told him this is just a misunderstanding. I was telling him like, yo, the lady wasn't there and her kid was out at 1 o'clock in the morning, but they weren't trying to hear that. And she crying and screaming, talking about he touched my daughter, and all this and that. But I didn't touch her. This was like a regular thing of her leaving her unattended. So they take him to the county jail. They process him, all this and that. He like, okay, yeah, I'm innocent. Ain't nothing gonna happen. I didn't do anything. They take the little girl to Hurley Hospital, and they do a kit. They perform a kit on her. Y'all know I can't say the word on here, but they perform a kit on her, and it turns out that her hymen thing was broke. Now, here's the thing. They charged him with that, and they said that he did it. Now, he said that there was no DNA evidence, none of that. And to his understanding, somebody else did that to her, right? So he said they just charged him with it. So instead of him coming to prison for this, he snitched. Y'all like, Donta, if he got convicted of this, no. So what y'all don't know is, yeah, you can go to jail for a bad charge for sure. But if you can get them folk some crazy information via drug deals and drug dealers and all that, you see, Biggie knew a lot of drug dealers in a lot of hoods because he smoked crack. And one thing about dope fiends is that, yeah, y'all, Biggie was a dope fiend. One thing, a functioning dope fiend. But one thing about dope fiends, they know everybody's business. So he cut a deal. He told his lawyer, like, listen, man, I didn't do this, but the lawyer like, hey, man, but they still gonna hit you with it, man. They gonna charge you with it. And 9 times out of 10, you gonna get convicted. This is a public offender too, y'all. So he like, well, I got some information about a lot of people. Right, a whole lot of people. So the lawyer like, well, I can run him by the prosecutor. And he like, well, I know this guy, he do this guy, he do that. Matter of fact, I can, if y'all can, look out for me, I can get y'all a lot of guys, right? So he like, okay, I'll run it by the prosecutor and the judge or whatever. Now they come back and they tell Biggie like, okay, we'll give you a deal. And he like, so what's the deal? Now, the original time that he was gonna get for so-called violating this girl, because I don't know if he did it or not. And the reason why I say that is because when a parent leaves their child with any and everybody and leave them unattended, any predator could have done anything. Right? And maybe Biggie just got caught with the hot potato. Who knows? I don't know. Right? But nevertheless, he was looking at 10 to 20 years for that, right? Now, with all the information that Biggie gave and all the arrests and all that of him snitching or whatever, they never really told Biggie how much time reduction they was going to give him for working with the people. Guess what, y'all? They didn't give him a damn thing. Nothing. In fact, the prosecutor said, well, we're going to make a recommendation to the judge because you cooperated. He should have got way more detail. He should have got way more. Yeah, so he snitched for nothing, y'all. In fact, the judge actually gave that dude 30 years for what he did. And this is why his record was sealed, right? So I'm like, Biggie. He like, man, Donta, I didn't, bruh. I didn't. That little girl, man, I said, no, we passed that. We passed that, man. He like, yeah, I know, man. I know. I said, you gotta get out the cell, man. And I know. Some of y'all like, well, Donta, you say you don't care about the snitching thing. You don't care. No, but y'all gotta understand, man. I was, and for the authorities out there, this is all fake. This is not real. I was the head of an organization. And me being the boss, ain't no way I can be in a cell with somebody that was snitching that hard. Snitching at all. Y'all gotta understand what type of man I was back then. I was a honorable man, of prestigious man of all men. I was the pure picture of what a man is. And there's no way I had to walk a straight line. You know what I'm saying? I had to damn near be perfect the way I was programming. You hear me? But anyway, so I'm like, well, you got to get out of here, bro. You got to get out. And I'm looking at everybody. I'm like, and from this day forth, we have no association with him at all. No association at all. Don't give him nothing. Can't talk to him. None of that. So he was like, all right, man. All right. But I'm just telling you, man, I didn't do that. I said, man, it don't matter, man. You got to go roll out. So we gonna fast forward, y'all. We gonna fast forward 5 years later. Now, they done transferred me up north, right? Now, I didn't go to a maximum. This was like a level 4. Now, I was up there for about 3 months, and I ran into some Flint dudes or whatever. And, you know, we just kicking and we just talking or whatever. They tell me, like, hey, man, like, where you came from and all this and that. So I'm telling them, like, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, hey, you know, you heard this dude named Biggie? I was like, yeah, I know Biggie. And then they got to telling me what he did or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I already knew, and somehow they found out whatever. So I'm like, okay. And they was like, man, you know he a sissy now, right? I said, what? It was like, yeah, Biggie is sissy, man. Biggie was, yeah, Biggie is a boy now. For those that don't know what a boy is, it's basically a LGBTQ guy, whatever. So they like, yeah, he a boy now. I was like, that's crazy, right? So nothing eventful took place in this prison, right? This was actually like a chill level 4, right? Because everybody there just wanted to work their way down and get back to a level 1 or level 2, right? Because we didn't have no type of privileges here. So nothing eventful happened in this prison. So I end up, you know, getting my points lowered or whatever. And they end up sending me to a level 2, right? Here we go, y'all. So this level 2 that I was at, it was like the hood. In fact, it was like the projects. Everything that you can think of was in there, right? All type of drugs, TVs, DVD players, everything that you can think of except for a woman, right? So I get with my people or whatever, and we walk in the yard, right? So everybody introducing me to everybody from Detroit and Flint and all that or whatever, Saginaw. So we all just kicking and whatever. And I'm looking, I see this dude with like red hair, like with a red weave. And I'm looking, and I'm like, hey, who? I'm talking to my homeboy Ken. I said, hey, who is that? And he's like, oh man, this Biggie. This Biggie. I got up because we was on the bleachers. I stood up. I was like, oh my God. Because I done forgot, you know, up north they told me Biggie turned into, you know, an LGBTQ type of guy. And I'm like, what? Man, y'all listen. Biggie was turned off the way. I'm talking about turned sideways. Biggie done had, like, you know that song, Living My Life Like It's Golden. Living my life like it's golden. That's what Biggie remind me of. This dude was like living this truth. Or maybe I should say living his life, living a lie. This dude, when I say this dude was straight flamed up, I'm talking about he had the orange weave. Don't ask me how he got it. I don't know. This dude done paid somebody to alter his clothing. I'm talking about he had tight state pants on. This dude had, I'm talking about he had the full. And keep in mind, y'all, Biggie is big. Like, he's a big dude. I'm not talking about a muscular dude. I'm talking about like a really big, heavy set type of dude. So I'm looking down, they like, yeah, Biggie be around here tricking, man, and he real messy, right? So I'm like, man, so then he look over, cause I'm standing up on the bleachers, y'all, and I told y'all, I'm like a sight to see. I'm like 6'2", 250, right? So I'm not hard to miss. So Biggie looking, and you know when you like, when the sun is in your eye and you put your hand to your forehead and you looking up, Biggie is looking up at me. And he looked, and then he started walking over here, and they're like, oh, here come Biggie. So he walked over there, and he put his hands on his hip. He like, do I know you? Like, I'm talking about Biggie whole voice done changed, y'all. I said, Biggie, man, it's Donta, man. He was like, oh, I thought I knew you. And he turned away and walked off. So they looking at me like, hey, man, what's up? I'm like, man, I knew Biggie when he was Biggie. I said, I don't know this guy. I don't know who this dude is now. When I met Biggie, I knew Biggie on the streets. And in the last prison I was in, you know, we put him on the glass for being a snitch and whatever. So they like, oh, okay, because they looking at me like, hey, you like, no, this dude, Biggie? I'm like, nah, hell no, right? Let me tell y'all something. Jesus is Lord. I'm out. If y'all forgot to hit the like button, y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Also, y'all make sure y'all sign up for my Patreon. I'm going to have that link pinned at the top of the comment section. Y'all be blessed. I'm out. And be safe out there, y'all.